that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of the Coast of D.C. of the state of Texas, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help me God.
Oh, sign. Where do we sign this thing?
You're the affiant.
Affiant.
Go, ma'am.
Is it official now? We can.
Yeah, you can kick this back.
All right. Good morning, everyone. We do have a quorum, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. I would also like to welcome our newest board member, Dr. Dave Cummings. Welcome. I have asked John Barrio to lead us in prayer. John?
If you would bow with me. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the opportunity to live in this fine city of San Angelo, Texas. Thank you for showering blessings on this city and its citizens. Lord, we ask that you keep us all good stewards of the funds this board has the obligation to watch over and direct. We ask that our decisions be worthy of your blessing. As we recognize some entrepreneurs this morning, we pray that the seeds of their businesses will grow much fruit. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. Next item on the agenda is a presentation of the 2017 Business Plan Competition Awards. Costa DC is proud to support a very successful 2017 San Angelo Business Plan Competition for its second year in a row. We know this took some time and some hard work for the contestants, and we're about to hear who the finalists are. I'd like to turn this over to Dave Erickson, Director for ASU SBDC, to help us learn the process involved, the prize amounts, and who the winners are. Dave?
Well, thank you, Vice President Flores and the whole Costa DC board and staff for your support of the competition. We are here today to announce the judges' selection of the winners of the 2017 San Angelo Business Plan Competition. As mentioned, my name is Dave Erickson, Director of the ASU Small Business Development Center, and I'm one of the coordinators of the competition. I'd like to introduce the other coordinators, Nora Regino, Executive Office Coordinator. She is a coordinator representing the Business Factory, Nora. And Vince Mangano, there he is, okay. Vince Mangano, ASU instructor, is a coordinator representing the ASU College of Business. In addition, Kayla Johnson, SPDC graduate student, is here as the coordinator of the student team. Some of the students may be here in the audience, and she worked under Vince Mangano. Thank you all for your teamwork and dedication to the competition. We enjoyed doing it, didn't we? So, yeah. I'd also like to acknowledge and thank the ASU Small Business Development Center business advisors and the College of Business student team who worked with the contestants on their business plans. Thank you all. We also want to thank the contestants, many of you here today, and hope they receive great value from the process of creating a business plan from their business idea and their desire to expand their business. We hope you continue, if not selected, continue with developing your business. Special thanks goes to the judging panel, made up of cross-section of business and community leaders, who had the difficult task of judging the competition and selecting the winners. Also, thanks goes to the many local businesses who will provide in-kind prizes of all types to the winners. Last year, as mentioned by Mr. Flores, was the first year of the rejuvenated San Angelo Business Plan Competition. The first and second place winners, Tabitha and Ryan Odom of Odom RD Dietitian Consultants, and they're in the audience today. Thank you for being here. And Sean Bearden of Contra Valley Tactical Solutions. Tabitha and Ryan were first place. Sean was second place. They are still growing their young businesses. They have both expanded and received additional financing and taken advantage of the valuable in-kind awards in addition to their winnings. The process for this year started with the competition that was announced in October. We received 41 entries on the February deadline. 10 semifinalists were selected to move forward and complete their draft business plans. From these 10 draft business plans, the judging panel selected 5 to move forward as finalists. These 5 presented their final plans to the judging panel this past Saturday. So here we are to announce the winners of this year's San Angelo Business Plan Competition. And I'm going to turn it over to Coordinator Nora Regino, who announced the winners. Nora?
Good morning. First, I want to start off with, I want to congratulate each and every one of you. All of you did a wonderful job Saturday. It showed a lot of hard work, so congratulations to you on that. I would like to say, first of all, is a thank you. Thank you to Dave Erickson and Vince Mangano. It's always a pleasure working with them. This is a great opportunity for all of us to work together. Also with a special thank you to Kayla Johnson. She helped me quite a bit as well, so thank you, Kayla. ASU College of Business, the students, I hope you had a wonderful experience and that you encourage your fellow students to take part of this program next year. But also I want to give another big thank you to our providers. So I want to just list them, say their names of the businesses who you will be contacting after the announcement. The people that provided prizes are Alexander Resources Group, Oliver Rainey and Wolchek, Sam Allen with Jackson Walker LLP, Media Jaw, Standard Times, Foster Communications, San Angelo Live, ABC 38, KIDY, KLST, West Office Supply, Angelo Awards, Company Printing, Connexion, and also McLaughlin Advertising. Thank you, Stephen, for all your hard work in contacting all the media for us all. Before I announce the winners, I ask that when I announce your name, your business name, that you please step forward, receive your plaque, and we will have a picture taken. And then at the end of the announcements, we will have a group picture. So then I'll ask the winners to come back up to the front and we'll take a picture, group picture. And then the winners will move to the back of the room where we will take additional pictures back there. So, are we ready? Okay, here's the day. So I'm going to start off with third place.
And the winner is La La Land.
Okay, so third place goes to Longhorn Coffee Company. Come on up. Congratulations. Okay. Second place winner. Moontime.
One. Hey, Dave,
like to know.
Okay, first place.
Nick, I'll call. We're going to call him back.
Okay, first place. Ready? Okay. HR Onboarding Solutions, LLC. Snuggle up on this one. Shorter people in the front. Okay, if our winners will please step back up here so we can take a group picture.
Oh, we didn't rehearse.
We rehearse?
Done.
No, we'll ask you to leave just so you won't.
That is quality entertainment right there. I was in these one of these years.
Yeah, I know
was
you
cool.
were.
Look at this goofy look on my face.
I just want to thank everyone for being so open-minded and curious about my business. I really appreciate it. And thank you to Desiree, you're super awesome. And everyone who was involved, it's been an amazing experience.
I think she's the nutrition.
We'd just like to say thank you so much. We're just blessed and overwhelmed and humbled by this experience, learned a lot about our business and what we need to do and what we're planning to do. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thanks, Nick.
Well, I can just only echo the same statements of the other winners. This has been an amazing experience. I can thank Desiree Johnson so much. She was such a great help for us, and just to know how to develop a plan to grow our business. And what's exciting is that San Angelo puts so much time and effort and resources into growing the economy here. And I know that all the winners and hopefully all those that had participated will continue to grow their plan, to grow their business, and it's been a great experience and definitely going to hopefully make us all successful. But thank you very much.
This time, Costa DC would like to take this moment to recognize those who have worked to make this competition a success. I'd like to have Nora Navarez, Dave Erickson, and Vince Mangano come up to the front, please.
There he is.
Oh, he's right there.
There you.
He ran back.
Yes, your ears are.
He's giving him a walk.
I just want to hear what they said.
Yeah.
So, the City of San Angelo Development Corporation Board would like to present these three outstanding individuals with a plaque. It's San Angelo Business Plan Competition 2017 presented to ASU SBDC by the City of San Angelo Development Corporation. In appreciation for your support and contribution to the success of the business plan competition designed to produce a positive long-term economic impact on the City of San Angelo. There we go. Sorry, I got the wrong one.
Do it
He
again.
wants to
Sorry, I gave you the wrong one. And Nora, did you
Thanks,
get one?
thanks, Dr. McDonald.
Thank you. Just a handshake?
Thank you for everyone who participated. I encourage each and every one of you, if you know of anyone else that has a business in mind and want to see it grow, that they please contact ASU Small Business Development. They have a wonderful team there. Congratulations to everyone, and please give me a call, okay? Thank you.
I have a question, Nora. Can we have the three folks talk about their business some so we can know more about them and what they do? And I think that would be good for all of us to hear about, what they do, maybe what some of their plans are. Yeah.
Longhorn Coffee is a little coffee company. We're over on 4465 Cristoval Road. We offer fresh roasted coffee, 3 different blends, Pecos, Concho, Snakebite, which is a 3 times the caffeine. We're in Pinky's, Market Street. We just moved into Midland this week, looking for Odessa, Abilene, and Brownwood to move into next. It's just, San Angelo has just been so good to us. Starting out in our little cottage at the house, moving into the new business, new roasters. We're going to get a K-Cup machine with our proceeds here. It's really going to help us out a lot.
And thanks to Bank of San Angelo, who allowed a lot of this to happen also.
There's our business loan through them. That's who got us started on all this.
Yes.
Don't give any of these folks up here the 3 times caffeine stuff.
Our company is HR Onboarding Solutions, and it started about 3 years ago. I'd worked at Multichem in the HR department, developed a web-based HR onboarding system, and when I started my business, we wanted to offer a solution to companies. Instead of having to fill out paper forms when they hire their employees, they can actually fill out the electronic application, background check authorization form, and all their new hire forms all electronically with other transactions and electronic processes. After that, we developed a DOT driver system that is integrated with the HR onboarding system for companies that have DOT drivers. And one of the biggest requests that has just come about, one of my clients here in town is Texas Leadership Charter Academy. And they have over 2,700 students across 4 locations in Texas. And they complete paperwork every single year for all their students. So we have developed the first ever student onboarding or student registration system that allows schools to allow their parents to complete all the registration paperwork all electronically. So we just visited with Region 15 yesterday, and they are looking at offering the HR onboarding and possibly the student registration system to the schools here locally, 38 schools, and hopefully, if it works out, it may be able to be something that goes statewide. We plan to continue to grow our business here in San Angelo. I've looked at a lot of the companies such as Caltech, Time Clock Plus, LED Lighting. They keep their businesses here, their employees here, but they're able to support their clients all across the country and in some of them other parts of the world. So we plan to do that, to develop programmers, work with ASU, Howard College, to bring in students to work in sales, marketing, customer service, computer science, and to continue to grow our business here and have hopefully a great impact on the economy.
My name is Chelsea Waldrop, and I am with Moontime. Moontime is a startup business, and it is a subscription membership where women will subscribe to on a monthly basis. And in this box, it is filled with healing products to aid women during their menstrual cycle. Currently, I'm renovating the old Ridgeway Florist building, which over time will be converted into a wellness center for here in San Angelo, offering meditation, herbal workshops, and hot yoga. I'm very excited to be able to open such a unique business here in San Angelo. I was born and raised here and went to live in Chicago for 15 years, and I'm just excited to bring all those life experiences and share it with our community.
Congratulations to all the winners, and much luck and success. One thing I didn't mention before, I'd really like to mention now is that Dave and his advisors, great job, thank you. We couldn't have done this without you. Nora, thank you, even though you didn't get a plaque. I'm very disappointed. But thank you for all the hard work. Dave will share. That's right, they're in the same building. And Vince Mangano and his student advisory team, thank you guys. It takes a lot of people to get this up and going and be able to create or nurture this business plan competition, so thank you. Look forward to many more. All right. At this time, we'll move on to item number 4, public comment. Public comment on issues or items that are not on the agenda may be taken at this time. Citizens should speak from the podium. Begin by stating their name and limit their remarks to less than 5 minutes. The board takes public comment on all regular agenda items during the discussion of those items. Do we have any public comment at this time?
Board members, I know there's another member in the audience that has a public comment, but I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of the podium and the time to introduce to you Sarah Lamog, who is the AmeriCorps Vista member that we talked about last month, and we signed an MOU that you approved with ASU, and I'm going to ask her to come to the podium and introduce herself. She's doing a great job for us in helping us certify our workforce.
Hi, good morning.
Morning.
Just to echo what Roland said, my name's Sarah. I'm from Los Angeles, and I'm here to serve the community for the next year, working on the Work Ready Community Initiative.
All right. Great. Great to meet you.
Thanks.
Do we have any other public comment? Dr. Carolyn Bonds. Morning.
Morning.
Morning. I'm here to pump you up with good news. On January 27th, 2016, I came before you to request the support of COSA DC for a grant to the Military Preparedness Commission of Texas to expand the international intelligence mission of Goodfellow Air Force, which was but prior to this, very fledgling, and only a few came each year from other countries. The total project was anticipated to be $2,951,290,000, of which $2,042,000 would be in state grant funds. $273,790 was contributed from the Air Force, $633,000 from you all, COSA DC. Tom Green County Commissioners agreed to submit the grant for us and process all financial paperwork, including the construction bidding. Our application was successful, and work began to renovate a minimally used building at Goodfellow for high-tech classrooms and a second building as a collaboration center for American and international students to study together in a coffee house setting. We predicted that the construction would be completed by this coming month, May 2017, and fully operational by June 2017, and we are meeting that deadline. The Department of Defense had applications from 32 countries to attend multiple intelligence classes here at some base in the Department of Defense. Those classes included targeting, weaponry, precision point training, imagery analysis, unit-level intel support, basic and advanced intel, intelligence skills, and something called Scan Eagle. Countries purchase courses based on their needs. In many cases, these classes support the equipment and planes the countries have purchased from America and will be utilizing in a coalition environment in the hot spots of our world. Our trainers normally had been sent on site to these countries, so this is a big deal for them to send them to San Angelo, Texas. Many countries were impatient. They didn't want to wait until June of 2017. And they pushed the right people, evidently. And they started coming this past fall, 1 year early. 18 countries. South Korea, Poland, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt, Oman, Philippines, Niger, Bahrain, Congo, Indonesia, Estonia, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Romania, Taiwan, and Turkey are here and have been here. 115 students. And we predicted 130 our first year. And this really wasn't our first year. It was a pre-year. The number of dependents that are here right now are 60. Those live out in our community and go to our schools. 4 instructors of the ones that we plan to hire have already been hired, all prior to the opening of the mission and the classrooms. We've had to run shifts because our classrooms weren't ready. As a result of COSA DC, the county and chamber partnerships that made possible being qualified and now awarded this grant from Texas Military Preparedness Commission, Goodfellow is now, and we had no idea, positioned for additional missions tied to our Intel International mission and expanding intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance mission. A small group of community members have traveled multiple times in the last 4 months to DC. To petition is the proper word, I call it begging, for 2 more missions. One, we have been primarily meeting with Lieutenant General Dash Jameson. She is the 3-star overall intel for the Air Force. She is the ultimate boss of our over our base, and of course much more. And she was here in town last week to make sure that what we told her about 5 weeks ago when I was there last was truly that, and not Carol Ann just being proud. It has not been awarded, but we are number 1 to get 2 missions, well, 1 mission for sure. And that we needed, she told us back in end of November, 1st of December, that we had to have 2 things. We had to increase our wide area network pipe, and I had to be taught what that meant, from 1 gig to 40 gigs. and to find more housing to bring these additional students, because we are triple bunked out at Goodfellow. And that isn't such a bad deal for firefighting young people, but Intel kids are nerds. And they honestly, and that's a compliment, they prefer being by themselves. And so to be triple bunked and then us wanting to bring more is, we had to do something, and we are. Lieutenant General Ronnie Hawkins retired, who retired about the same time I did, a year and a half-ish ago, and has retired in our city, is a godsend. And he was head of DISA, which I don't even know what that stands for, but it was all the technology of the Air Force. It's pretty impressive. And so he has, since he understands it, been leading the charge to get the pipe, and has gotten DISA to pay for it to the fence, and we as a community and the Air Force are working from the fence inside the base. So that's, and then Mike Boyd has been working on housing outside the fence until we can move up the list to get housing dorms built inside the fence. We were number 2 on that MilCon list, and we were recently, for some unknown reason, bumped down to number 3 or 4. Each MAGCOM gets 2 MilCon funded structures funded a year. So that's pretty tough. So we as San Angeloans are stepping up to the plate, and I'm very proud to be a San Angeloan. Okay, here's the second cool, and that's a cool mission, by the way. That is maintainers to take care of these additional, that you all helped fund the software for the international mission. So this would be maintainers coming to take care of all of this. Then last week we had a scout come, a sort of surprise. And because, you know, when one door opens, often it means other doors open. And that because we were able to get this mission, without which we couldn't have done without your backing, by the way. And I'm not kissing up to you, even though if that helps, I will. But last week we had a scout come from the Department of Defense to see if we could start soon hosting 56 PhD international nuclear scientists at Goodfellow Air Force Base and families. So folks, and they would live in our community. That is an amazing thing. So when you are risk takers to back something, especially for our military, in this instance, it paid huge dividends. Now, I want to put a face to it, and then I'm through. I'm only brought along on these missions, since I don't have a clue what a gig is, to put a personal face. And some of you who know me, Dr. Cummings, know that I love stories, and these are brief. But this explains what a big deal it is for these international folks to come to San Angelo, as opposed to Andrews Air Force Base and even our sister base, Lackland and Randolph down in San Antonio, in a much bigger city. Of these men and women who have come most over this pre-opening year, when we've hosted them, and I didn't realize I was going to be the mother and help provide social events for them, but it fits. And so people like David and others have donated tickets. So if you see me coming, you know what I'm going to be begging for. And if you have tickets to anything that would expose these international pilots and colonel, lieutenant colonels, majors, predominantly, who've been coming. And recently, our largest contingency are the Saudis, and they bring their families and even their elderly parents, which I think is wonderful, and they live in apartments. But the leading, the head of the most recent Saudis, and there's a large group here right now, stood up and he said, "Ms. Bonds, we're going to go home soon, and I have my 5 children here. 3 are in one of your elementaries." You know, they don't recognize that I'm retired. 1 is in Lee Middle School, 1 is in Central. They have been in their lifetime in the most elite private schools in Saudi Arabia. They are not happy with their father right now because we're flying home. They have been to spend the night parties of their classmates, birthday parties, weekend trips, and they love San Angelo, Texas. And then 2 young pilots from South Korea who always are wearing, I called them their flight suits. They corrected me many times. It's called a bag. Stood and said, "You took us to your capital. You took us to your aquarium. You took us to museums." And they unzipped their flight suit bags and pulled them apart and had bright orange San Angelo Central T-shirts underneath. And they said, "But we love Texas high school football." Because we got tickets to every home game, both Lakeview and Central. They have been to our symphony. 55 of them went this last Saturday night. They have been to ASU basketball and baseball games and all the San Angelo public school athletic events that they so chose to go to. Usually about 50 or plus at a time, and we've had no trouble getting tickets. So when I told that story to Senator Cornyn and Representative Mike Conaway, they also agreed. And of course, they have their 15 military installations in Texas, and that San Angelo was the perfect city to surround. And not only, they're getting taught intel, where to find the bad guys, which bombs to drop, how many floors they need to go down. That's what they're learning how to do here. How to recognize on the live streaming who are non-combatants so that we don't have that. But both our elected officials said, your city is the perfect one. And when I was able and allowed to tell those 2 stories recently, to the first time ever I've been able to get into the House Intel Committee, and the 2 staffers, one proudly told me he was former CIA, and straight face, and when I told the 2 stories, he smiled for the first time and said, very likely this will be the only time they are in America. Way to go, San Angelo. So thank you, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you have tickets or a question?
No, but we know where to go if we do.
Well, one other thing, week before last, when Senator Cornyn and Mike Conaway were here, we lined up our international, and we can't buy the contracts we have with the countries, take pictures from the front, from their face. But the 2 men walked through, and I was introducing them, and the Egyptian pilot and a high-ranking officer, the Oman and 2 Philippines, said, "We are trying hard to get Mrs. Bonds to come to visit our country. We want our mothers to meet her." Now, they're all married and have children, but they want their mothers. I'm sure that is good.
That's a compliment.
Caroline?
Okay, questions?
Yes, Caroline?
Yeah.
More a comment than a question.
Yeah.
As one of those nerds that you referred to earlier,
Yep.
on behalf of all of us nerds, We thank you for your advocacy,
Oh,
your passion for Goodfellow Air Force Base, and the time you invest in it. We
Well-
know that you could have a personal life, but we are privileged that you choose to spend it on this.
well,
Thank you.
Thank you. And did you leave off to please keep trying to get them individual rooms? I heard.
But please do, because I truly was one of those.
I know.
I served during the Cold War. It is a different mission now, a far more intense training. And I can't thank you enough.
Well, thank you, guys, and it wouldn't be possible without your investment in this project.
Thank you, Dr. Bonds. Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 5, consent agenda. Item A, consider approving the March 26, 2017 minutes. And B, consider approving necessary corporation disbursements.
I'll make the motion that we approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. John Barrio, second by Tommy Hebert. Any other further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item number 6. Item A under regular agenda, consider approving the March 2017 financial statements, presentation by Chief Accountant Jaime, the big boss lady, Tina. Okay.
Good morning, Board. Jaime had a conflict this morning, so I'm going to present your March financials for you. So we did see sales tax down for March a little over 4%, but in April we saw a bit of a bump to 2.37% increase over the same month last year. And that was our, that would be a reflection of our rodeo time period for February. So let's see. Moving on to your balance sheet for the economic development side, we continue to see in our investment and money market accounts growing. That's because we are closely monitoring those as we're getting more comfortable with moving money into those investment accounts and projecting our cash flows. We did see for the quarter an average rate of return of 0.93% for our investment accounts and 0.65% for our money market account. For the income statement, not a whole lot of activity this month other than, of course, our sales tax receipts and our expenditure for the Chamber's marketing efforts. And the ballot sheet for the ballot side, there's not too much change here as well, just again with the investment and money market accounts, closely monitoring those to get as much return on our investments as we can. And for your income statement for the ballot side, the only activity at all that we saw this month was sales tax revenue, so no expenditures on that side. And of course, at the end of your report are your detailed financial transactions that you've probably had a chance to review. So if you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion on approving the March 2017 financial statements. Second. Mr. Tankersley. Second by Mr. Coles. Any other discussion? I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any against? Motion carries. Item number B, considering approving COSA DC Business Factory Advisory Panel Policy Manual. Presentation by Mr. Roland Pena.
Good morning, board members.
Morning.
This is an item requesting your approval for a formal new business incubator program. We've been working on this for some time now. We believe that the program, the policy manual that you have in your packet, will provide better service, provide us to have more timely decision-making and create efficiency for the business incubator. It's a little bit more detail than what we had in the past. It does provide evaluation and selection process, approval and denial. It does call for the appointment of advisory panel members. It'll have duties and terms as noted in the manual. The economic development staff will continue to serve as administrators of the program. And next month, hopefully, we're going to come back to you so that the board can appoint 8 to 9 members, a minimum of 8, but up to 9 for the advisory panel. Just for the benefit of the audience and for our new board members, the Concho Valley Center for Entrepreneurship Development, CVCD, was the nonprofit corporation that we contracted with to carry out the business incubator activities. CVCD is now known as the Business Factory, and that's what we call the business incubator. That board has been looking into the dissolution of that corporation. I brought a presentation to you back in July, and we've taken a lot of time to research the implications of the dissolution, a lot of the legal aspects involved, and we've been working with Sam Allen, who is the attorney for CVCD, and Dan Soloria has also provided his insight in terms of how we're impacted here at the Costa DC. In essence, all of those responsibilities will move under Costa DC. The CVCD board is ready to proceed. I'd like for you in this item just to approve the manual so that we could move forward with regard to the appointment of the board members. I want to bring back to you next month conflict of interest and code of ethics. That's part of the manual. We need to do a little bit more research on the legal side with that respect, and we may have to provide board member insurance, liability insurance for those board members. We're having to do some more research on that, and with that, I'm open to answer any questions, and I would recommend approval.
Hey, Roland, are you still going to recommend that one of us serve on that panel?
That is correct. We do ask for at least one board member from Costa DC to serve.
I'd like to nominate Todd Coles.
We'll bring that.
You're welcome,
if he's
Todd.
willing to serve, we'll bring that name next month, along with 7 to 8 others.
Figured just to get his feet wet. Since
That would be fine. I'd be happy to.
He's so thrilled.
He needs to inform his face.
Oh, that's fine. Go ahead.
All right. Well, any other discussion? Any questions for Roland?
So, Roland, just our approval of this allows you to do something. I guess really my question is, any reason to wait until you get the conflict of interest code of ethics material prepared and ready? I mean, does an approval?
The approval allows us to move forward on bringing you back the nominations of those board members. So the next month, you'll approve those 8 to 9 advisory panel members, and you'll approve the conflict of interest and code of ethics, and we'll bring more information on maybe a budget allocation for the board insurance. But for right now, it allows us to move forward and bringing forth the nominations of those advisory panel members, and the board members can submit their names. On the panel, we're asking for specific industry representatives, as you can see.
I noticed that, yeah. So, and is that falls? If I read this correctly, that process falls to the board to make those suggestions.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'd move, Mr.
I'll
Forrest, I'd
second.
move approval of the Business Factory Policy Manual.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
John Barrios, second. Any other discussion? Okay. Call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item number C, consider and approving the resolution and authorizing the board president to execute a professional service agreement with Grant Works to perform grant administration services on behalf of Costa DC related to an economic development assistance grant application preparation, submission to the U.S. Economic Development Administration and project implementation. Presentation by Roland Pena.
In the form of background, in June of 2016, we came to the board. We had a couple of projects that were moving sort of parallel and very quick, and we didn't know which one was was going to take precedent. We had one on phase 2 and one on phase 3. Both were sizable projects. This one prevailed, the one on phase 2. And so at that point, we asked the board to allocate $2 million as matching funds for an EDA grant. We wanted to pursue an EDA grant to provide the infrastructure to meet the infrastructure needed for the client, the buyer. We have sold 52 acres in phase 2. This will be for improvements. We have also sought, if you may recall, last month we sought approval from the board to allow staff to review the RFPs, review the responses, select the most qualified, conduct the interviews, and negotiate a contract, which you approved. That has really helped us move the process along. So we're bringing forth to you the contract. Let me back up a little bit. The reason for the grant administrator was to oversee the aspects of the grant application and afterwards the implementation of the project and the documents necessary to report back to EDA. We did issue the RFP and advertised. The RFP went to multiple firms. We did post on the website. 2 firms responded to the RFP. We did have a committee of 3 city staff, and GrantWorks was selected as the most qualified. We've negotiated a fee of $4,000 for the application preparation. It does involve an additional fee should we be awarded the EDA grant of 4% for project implementation. However, we're expecting that fee to come from the grant itself. So we would apply for the grant to include that additional fee. Staff does recommend approval of the contract, and I'm open to answer any questions. The other thing I'd like to say is that should we not be successful in receiving the grant, we're going to need to move forward because the project in phase 2 needs to be in operation 2 years from now, Bob. So they want to be in their facility 2 years from now. So it's a short time frame for us, and we've expressed, and you'll hear more from Bob and the other RFQ that he worked on. But we expressed to the grant writer and the engineers that this is critical for us. We're under a time constraint to meet being able to provide the services and the infrastructure to the client. The other thing that I want you to know is that we are working on a plan to review future land sales so that we can maximize a rate of return as we move into phase 2. The application, at least from the surface, looks viable, and I think we can apply up to $3 million. With that, I'll open it up for any questions you may have.
When do we have to submit it by, Roland?
In the information that I provided in the packet, we've asked if we can get the submittal within 4 months, and that's what we're going to be working towards.
There is no submittal deadline now, though. There used to be, and now there's not. It's open year round.
Right, but on the timeline, we've asked if we can get the application prepared for submittal within 4 months.
And our 2-year timeline started when?
It'll start from the time we approve the. Oh, are you talking about the client?
The client, yeah.
From last month when we closed.
So we'll apply in 4 months, and then how long does it take to find out whether we won or not?
We, my understanding is the applications are reviewed monthly.
We should know within 5 months.
Well, we're expecting project bid to take place in 12 months, so I suspect that our notification would be between 6 and 9 months. That does not stop any of the engineering to take place. As I said, if we're unsuccessful securing the grant, the engineering, design work, and construction needs to move forward, yes.
Okay. All right.
So we're talking about application preparation. Do they stay after this to follow through and kind of stay on top of it, or they're not just taking a pen and filling it out and we're paying them $4,000?
No, you are correct. They stay with it, and I'm looking at the scope of work. We had a revised scope of work. It does say notice of award happens within the 4 months.
So the reason we're asking for grant administration services, the city doesn't have anybody that can do that. We don't have anybody that can do that.
We really don't, Director. We had, and that's when we mentioned it before going after the RFP, and we've provided the heads up and discussed it with the board in the past that we just don't have that expertise or the resources now. We just completed an EDA grant. I say we, the city did, for the fire station, and it was a challenge. It's still a challenge to keep. There's a lot of paperwork involved even after the construction of the facility. This way, we felt like it was a good use of our dollars, $4,000 for the application. They know what to look for. These are experts in the grant application. But more importantly, is being able to keep up with the documentation and the record. And if that's being funded by the EDA grant itself, we felt like it was a good move for us.
Roland, is the 4%, is that standard or was that a negotiated rate?
That's a negotiated rate. We can't negotiate it any lower than that. So.
Roland, these two firms that responded to the RFP, are they local?
The second one that responded is not local. They are from the state of Texas. Houston, I think it was Houston. Yeah, Houston. GrantWorks does have a local representative here that works with many of the municipalities and the counties in this region, and they have a local person here, Mary Alice. She hasn't been here in a long time. She will not be the grant writer. We have a Martha Drake that will be responsible for doing the majority of the work.
So the GrantWorks, do you consider that a local firm? Or just a firm with local representation?
She's been here a long time. I don't know how long, though, Director.
You know how much we spend on these administrative services for grant applications in a year? The reason I ask is $4,000 seems like a lot of money because we don't have the expertise anywhere in staff to do this stuff. Well, if we're spending $200,000 a year on getting this stuff done by an expert, surely we can hire someone that their full-time job is to be an expert at doing these grant applications.
Is he coming up here?
Michael Dane's coming, everybody. So.
I don't know.
There he comes.
We hear something.
We heard something.
Good observation. Good
morning.
point. Typically, good morning. Michael Dane, Assistant City Manager. Thank you. Typically what happens in the city is when a department sees a grant opportunity, they apply, they handle all the management. We have folks who can assist with gathering paperwork, but we don't have somebody dedicated to administering, so a department administers their own grant. So accounting is great to assist. We have an internal auditor whose job is to help departments remember to meet their deadlines, but nobody dedicated exclusively to grant activity.
I guess what Todd was trying to say was is if we're spending a lot of money, maybe we should, I don't know, if it would
We're
be
not.
wise.
I'm sorry.
We're not.
Good point. We're not. Okay. This is the only grant management agreement that I'm aware of.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
We can continue to monitor that as we continue to explore. I mean, I think it is prudent to look at other grants and leverage those
Well, and
dollars.
it's probably prudent just for the entire city.
Yeah.
If the city, all the entities combined with the city spend whatever, Todd's got a great point.
Right,
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. We can continue to monitor that. The other thing I want you to think about also is that we're incorporating, for example, the first EDA grant that we did for phase 1. So we've more than paid with the sales of the parcels and the facilities that are being built at the industrial park. So that's more than paid for itself. So we're going to continue to watch that as well and incorporate that into the price of the land. But so we can monitor that, and we can monitor more grants that are being in. Later on in the agenda, we have another grant that we're going to be talking about, a TxDOT grant. I think while we don't have a designated person, Sandy Villarreal within the city usually is the one that's helping to work some of these grants, but she doesn't do it full time.
Any other questions for Roland on this item? Any other discussion? Anybody would like to make a motion? Todd Coles. A motion from Mr. Todd Coles. Anyone second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Barrio. Any other discussion before I call for the vote, guys? We good? All right. All those in favor in approving the resolution authorizing the board president, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda, item D, considering and approving resolution authorizing the board president to execute a professional service agreement with Park Hill Smith and Cooper, Inc. to perform professional engineering and surveying services for infrastructure for Phase 2 of the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park. Presentation by Robert Sheeman.
Thank you.
Bob.
Good morning.
Morning, Bob.
Okay. I'm going to start off with just a little bit of an explanation about why some of the aspects of this grant are changing a little bit from what we originally talked about. But starting down here in this corner, that parcel is sold. That one is sold. That one is sold. That one is sold.
Blow it up.
I will in a minute. Bear with me.
Better be careful, Bob. I'll put a timer on you.
That is all sold. That's sold. That's sold. We're running out of land in Phase 1.
Wow. Good job, Bob.
And that's sold. So we're running. We're getting a little low on Phase 2.
We're having that problem.
What we're looking at now is it's a little bit of a change from what we originally thought we were going to do on the Phase 2 infrastructure. Is we're going to look at this in a couple of phases within Phase 2, if you will. At a minimum, we have got to extend utilities to be able to serve this parcel within 2 years. So what you see in red. I don't have a cursor anymore. What you see in red here is a temporary cul-de-sac that if things really came to a crunch, we would extend the street, which is actually Gateway. We would extend it that far to give this parcel access from the rear. They have water available from the front, so all utilities would be available from either the front or the rear just to serve that parcel. In addition, there's a great deal, and I'm going to back up for just a minute. All the green that you see is drainage improvements, either detention ponds, regional detention ponds, drainage channels, and that sort of thing. So and most of this that's shown on here serves Phase 2. Some of it serves the remainder of Phase 1, but this project is very heavy on the drainage side. And the detention side, which is something that we really looked at when we were selecting the engineering firm. So moving on, because we have pretty much sold out of the smaller parcels in Phase 1, you may recall that when we did the master plan originally, and KSA Engineers did a great job on it. We dedicated this parcel as 100 acres that we were holding to be for a single development with up to a 750,000 square foot building pad. We're now rethinking that, and we do have land available in phase 3 to designate for that 100-acre parcel. So as a part of this engineering contract, what we're asking is that the engineer look at this area for redesign, at least a concept design, to divide it into smaller parcels, so that we have. Sorry, sir.
Did we not designate that area because of the railroad, though? I thought. Was that
No, sir. There is no rail access there.
Well, I mean, future rail access. I thought.
Yeah, that concept. I'll let Roland talk about that a little bit if he wants to. But that concept has kind of priced itself out of the market.
Oh, there's no grant.
That would be something like a $12 million grant.
Then we would have to hire.
So what we're asking the consultant to do as part of this project is to give us a conceptual design of that parcel as part of the project. So 9 firms submitted responses to the request for qualifications. Staff ranked the 9 firms based on their qualifications, and then we conducted interviews with what we felt were the top 4. Park Hill, Smith, and Cooper were chosen as the most highly qualified for this project. They are headquartered in, or the office anyway that is doing this work is in Midland. They do have a local representative here who is their land planner, and he will be the liaison on this project throughout.
Bob, can you talk a little bit about, go back through at least for my one person's information, talk a little bit about I saw the information in there. You had different, I don't know if they were actually percentages, but weighting to different qualifications that you were requesting. Local that got, like, if I remember, 20. The top one was 35, and again, I don't know if that was a percent or what. Walk me through that to understand how we came to Park Hill, Smith, and Cooper when we have local firms that I assume submitted bid. So just
request for qualifications. Yeah, so they submitted the qualifications. The Engineering Practices Act says we cannot take bids. We cannot base the choice on price. It has to be on qualifications. And probably 2 of the biggest things that we looked at were, number 1, their experience on large drainage and detention projects similar to ours. The other was looking at the amount of experience they had with business and industrial parks. And Park Hill, Smith, and Cooper, I'm sorry I didn't bring the numbers with me, but they have done 8 or 9 industrial parks, including the space park in Midland, a couple of industrial parks in Midland. They've done the master plan for both the rail park and the industrial park in Lubbock for LIDA. They've done a nice job on an industrial park in Levelland, and there were several others. So they have a great deal of experience specifically with industrial business and industrial parks. So that really was a big factor in the decision.
And as differentiating them, standing them above, apparently far above the other bidders.
I wouldn't say far above, but above. And it was all 3 of there were 3 of us on the panel, including our city engineer. And it was our feeling that they came forth with the best qualified people that they were willing to put on the project, given their past experience on similar projects. So we've negotiated a preliminary, and by the way, the board may recall that at the last meeting in March, board gave us permission to move ahead with negotiating selecting the firm and negotiating a contract. So the scope of services as proposed by Park Hill Smith & Cooper, we're looking at tasks 1.1 and 1.2 being that conceptual, the initial data gathering, a lot of which has already been done through our master plan and our certification process. But they need some time to look through that data and understand it, and then to prepare a conceptual design for that area that I showed you previously in phase 2. So we're looking at doing those first the tasks 1.1 and 1.2 first, and they've given us a not to exceed price of $28,000 to do that. It'll be on an hourly basis, and they've given us, I believe you have their fees on an hourly basis, but it'll be an hourly not to exceed $28,000. Once we have a concept approved, then we would move on to the platting and zoning activities if needed, infrastructure design, the bid phase, and the construction phase, and then any other additional services if they were to crop up in the process. But it's very difficult to determine the cost of the design until we know what they're going to design. In the meantime, we want to try to accelerate that process because we've also got to get a cost estimate for the grant application that's going to be running concurrent with this. So very early on, they're going to have to give us not only a conceptual layout, but also price that layout out as closely as they can so that we have some numbers to use for the grant application. They're used to working with grant writers, and they understand that process. So again, that's part of why we chose this particular firm. Cost of the services, as I said, tasks 1.1 and 1.2 will be an hourly rate not to exceed $28,000, and then the balance of the contract would be negotiated based on an approved conceptual design. Proposed timeline, task 1.1 and 1.2, we anticipate to be completed in 90 days from the notice to proceed. That's a notice of the notice for the engineers to proceed. Infrastructure design and bidding, they've agreed can be completed within 1 year from the notice to proceed. And then the construction phase we would anticipate is going to take about another year. Again, there's a consideration there for some possible phasing in that if the construction looked like it were going to run longer than required, then we might look at getting enough and getting the project phased so that there was enough in place to support the 52-acre development and then complete the rest of it as we go on. Questions?
Anyone have any questions for Bob?
I do. And I'm going to keep coming back to this whenever we do anything. Call me a San Angelo nationalist. I want to see local firms.
So do we.
As best that we can to our ability. I understand that it's a process that we have to put stuff out there for other companies that may be more qualified, but it generates excitement with me when I see a local firm doing stuff versus.
Believe me, we really looked hard at that, and our feeling was, you know, we're here to support the local firms. We especially are. I mean, that's the business we're in. But we're also here to be good stewards of the taxpayers' dollar. Right. And so the experience factor and the qualifications.
Dan, you got something to say?
Yes. For professional services, under the state code, we have to look for the most qualified. So we can't even give a preference for local on the professional.
Can't hear you.
I got my green light on.
There you go. You just got to move the mic closer to you.
Okay. Under state code for professional services, we have to score based on the most qualified. and we can't put factor in like give us your hourly rates or local preference. Then we negotiate with the most qualified, and if we don't feel we can reach reasonable terms and costs, then we're required to go to the next most qualified. So it's a very structured process that the department has to follow.
Okay, what determines qualification? I mean, they all have to have their certificates. They all have to have.
They all have to have professional engineers.
Right.
So then you look at what we did anyway. I mean, and everybody, I guess, could do this differently, but we looked at their experience with specific projects.
Hi, Julia Antley, I'm the city's purchasing manager. The specific qualifications that we looked to for this time were applicable experience, and that was defined as the quantity and type of experience with similar projects, including the size and scope, the local and area expertise, so firms with established experience working in the city of San Angelo, technical expertise, expertise dealing with the technical issues important to the scope, adequate resources, sufficient available staff, equipment to complete the proposed work within the requested timeframe, and then the performance on past projects and references. And those were successes on previous projects.
So how do you assign weight to those requests for qualifications so that then you come up with, I'm assuming you come up with a score? How is that a subjective assignment of qualification, or is it an objective assignment of qualification?
So what we typically do is stick with 35% for the applicable experience, 20% for local, 20% for technical, 15% for adequate resources, and then 10% for past performance. And then the departments can tweak that as they see fit.
So Parkhill, Smith, and Cooper comes up.
I'd wrong.
Well, I was going to say, then the committee members each, so it's sort of subjective based on the information they have in hand, based on on those interviews, based on the background that they've done, and so they all report a percentage on a worksheet, and that's tally. And Julie can explain it better than I can, but anyway.
So each of the members of the review committee fill out their own spreadsheet, and then the committee members meet to discuss and come up with an average for each firm. And that's how they selected their top four firms to interview. And the interviews usually have a different set of qualifications. You guys would need to speak to that, though.
We generally use that same set of qualifications during the interview process, but we did look a little more heavily at the experience factor and the proposed timeline because we are a bit sensitive to that, and the team that was going to be assigned to it.
So then, I guess then you get some sense, I suppose, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but you get some sense during the interview itself of ability to fulfill and I guess stand by what they state as their qualifications.
That's correct.
I'm like Todd, we need to do business locally. We talk about that a lot. We need to do business locally, and maybe we had no one here. At this point, we have to trust you all, obviously, and I don't distrust you, but it bothers me that we have to go outside on projects, any project. So. Just my 2 cents.
Any other board comment, questions?
We feel confident in the 90 days that they have to complete within 90 days, and is there a penalty if they don't?
No. Typically, what you'd be talking about is liquidated damages, and there are no provisions for that in this.
Any other comment? I would entertain a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Tankersley. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Barrio. Any other comment before I call for the vote, guys?
Yeah, let me make I'm going to vote in favor of this because I trust staff. But I'm as one board member, I want y'all to work hard to do business locally. Not that you didn't this go around, but let's keep that in the front of our minds.
We have some comment. Somebody would like to
I
make.
believe, yeah, you're going to have public comment, I believe.
Open up for public comment.
Good morning. My name is Darren Fentress. I just have a question. Is there a representative from Park Hill, Smith & Cooper here this morning? Thank you.
Any other public comment? I have a motion by Mr. Tankersley, a second by Mr. Barrio. I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Opposed.
Mr. Cole is opposed. Motion carries.
Let's take a break.
We're going to take a 5-minute break. Okay. My attention span is an annual amount not to exceed $750,000 for up to 5 years in support of the project for infrastructure necessary to promote or develop new or expand business. Presentation by Mr. Pena.
Board members, as the caption was read, you did pass a resolution to designate the Chadburn Street Corridor project or the improvements as a project that's required by state law. The project does involve applying to the Texas Department of Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Grant Program. And you authorized last month in that resolution not to exceed $100,000 along with the Tiers Board, who was also contributing for planning and engineering services. That involved the conceptual design and cost estimates and public engagement. We've had one public meeting so far. We've got another meeting coming up May 1st. In this request, it's seeking COSA DC's participation along with other sources of funds that are coming in from different city departments, and it'll help to complete the Chadburn Street Corridor project. The grant, as you can see, is only for 1.5, so it does not fulfill the completion of the cost of the project. The cost is estimated to be approximately in the $14 to $15 million range. These are the funding sources that are anticipated. Rick Wise, who is behind me, Assistant City Manager, has been working with a lot of the departments. And I think our participation of 3.75 as we allocate these funds, they can, if I'm correct, and I'll let Rick correct me if I'm not, that we can secure or try to secure the funds within 3 years, and at that point we begin to make payment. Here, I'm going to let Rick talk about some of the conceptual designs. This will be unveiled at the next public meeting. It'll talk about some of what the streetscapes could look like. It'll involve some continuous art and then a Chadburn Park. So I'm going to get this ready for Rick and let you talk through that, Rick, and then I'll come back.
We're going to bloat it up.
Recap a little bit to refresh everybody. We kind of came up with this. The city was going to be doing some work on Chadburn, and at that point we were going to be repaving Chadburn, and we talked to the engineering group and said, how long is it going to be before you revisit this? And they said probably 15 to 20 years. So we put a group together to explore the option of whether we wanted to do something more major along Chadburn that made a drastic impact in the downtown area, and then one that set the precedent for years to come on future street improvements. And that's where we started with y'all, and y'all agreed to partner in this application. So today we're bringing that forward to you. I know Roland went over the funding a little bit. One thing I wanted to say is that's the proposed at this point. As those dollar figures firm up a little more, those may adjust and change some, but that's a concept picture of what we're getting back now. The TxDOT grant, we kind of plug that in at the lowest amount that we'll be applying for. It may be more than that, but that was kind of the figure that we felt safe at this point. But it could go up. We're trying to work that out and see what we have the best option to get. They currently have $6.6 million available for cities of our size in this round. So we want to leverage our ground as to not overextend what we should apply for, which shoots us out where we don't get anything. Going through these slides that Roland has brought up, these are some concepts. These are the draft ones. These are some concepts that are going to be presented at a public meeting on May 1st. Here. We had our first public meeting already and took public input, and then we're going to present some proposals. So you'll see here that this is just a chunk of it. They were looking at some different concepts, one where they have dedicated bike lanes, one where they have a joint use bike lane, some where they have these medians in the middle. There's a look at how you do that, whether you put parallel parking. We've talked to them about some of the other options. This one's not colored, but well, let me go to the next one. It'll show you better. This one is more simple. It actually, if you look at the parking, it remains angled parking, and this sort of concept actually increases the amount of parking a little bit versus other options that may decrease it some. So you'll be seeing a variety of options. They'll probably have 3 or 4 at that meeting that we'll take public input on to try and come up with what is the best option for San Angelo that retains the character that we're looking for. So this is just sort of a little draft of what we'll be showing then. It'll alter some from these probably. Oops. I think these are just some concept ideas of things that they'll put forward in the presentation. Some of these don't really fit San Angelo, some of them may. And then that's just a cross section of what you might see in a streetscape.
Okay. So that gave you a glimpse of what some of the designs conceptually are going to be presented. Obviously, we seek public input, public engagement. We did send out a flyer to all the property owners and tenants, and then I just sent you another flyer that went out. Construction would start within 3 years from the time we receive the award, so that allows time for additional funds to be gathered. We are talking to the utility companies, telephone, gas, electric, to see how they can participate. If you notice from the chart, that number is not in there, so there are potential in-kind and or cash that could be available. More importantly is their support, and so we'll be seeking a letter for them to go along with the grant. Should we not be successful in securing all the funds, then obviously we'll look at the reduction of the scope of the project. However, I want you to think of something. I think the largest capital investment that Costa DC participated in with the certificates of obligation was about $16 million in river improvements in the downtown, in the river, and you can see what that has done. So this would be, I guess in my opinion, the second largest capital investment for any type of downtown improvements, and I think it'll spur additional economic activity, additional business development, and create a good gateway into the downtown and Riverwalk area. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions, and staff does recommend approval.
I might add to what Roland said on the scope of the project. As he said, our goal would be to go the whole thing from Houston Hart to Washington, but depending on how those dollars come in. If we scaled it down, then the second bet would go from Houston Hart to the river. So the grant actually includes the connectivity off of Chadburn back down to the river. We don't have any of that currently. That's one thing we've struggled with. One real plus about this application too is because it's an accessibility grant, it gets you down to the river. The river trail then connects. We have some links that are missing. For instance, there's a pedestrian bridge proposed under the bridge that crosses the river on Concho going toward the convention center here. It suspends under there. Right now, you don't. You hit that point and you really have to come back up. You can cross the bridge and then there's no place to get off. So it incorporates a few things that don't exist as well to complete that river trail, which connects east and west through San Angelo versus Chadburn, which is going north and south.
Any questions?
What is this first line here, construction must within?
The grant itself, once you, through the TxDOT grant, once you're awarded, once you're picked, you have 3 years to start construction.
So the sentence is construction must be completed within 3 years of award?
It must begin within 3 years.
Okay.
So it must begin. That's why, as we've looked at these things, such as the MPO allocation, those are dollars that they're pledging. They're not dollars they have on hand right now. Maybe the same with you and tiers. So once we start in 3 years, it'll take another, so it'll be 4 years probably before we're actually hitting the completion point.
And when will the public have input onto these, or into these design concepts?
We've already had one public meeting where they had some layouts and the public came and made comments, wrote all over them, and there'll be another meeting May 1st here in this room at 5:30.
Okay.
And the reason for the timeline is because this grant is due May 22nd. So we come to y'all, we have to go to council for final authorization and approval. So that application has to show all of the public support dollars, all of those things before we turn it in. So that's kind of our time frame that we're working within.
And the artwork you showed, were strictly proposals, not.
Correct, and those are actually going to change. Those are the drafts that were initially sent. Staff has talked to them based on the public input we received from the first meeting, and so they'll be changing some things in there and coming back with 3 or 4 actual proposals to be reviewed at that meeting on the 1st.
Okay, are those slides available online?
These draft ones, no. All of the proposed options, once they're finalized, will be at that meeting first available.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other comment, questions from the board? Any other public comment? Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Actually, I have a second.
Second.
Mr. Bowles? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Item F, consider a resolution in support of a project authorizing the expenditure not to exceed $140,000 for telecommunications fiber infrastructure to the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park, determined by the board to be an authorized project under Chapter 501 of the Development Corporation Act to promote or develop new or expand business enterprises that create or retain primary jobs, directing and authorizing the COSA DC Board President. Presentation by Roland Peña.
This resolution will request the budget allocation to pay for the cost of providing fiber optic solutions to the San Angelo Business and Industrial Park. You may recall we had a board workshop on March 6 where this was discussed, and fiber reliability was a top priority of the board, and we set out strategically to secure that fiber. You do have a resolution to designate the telecommunications fiber as an infrastructure project, which is a requirement. We mentioned that before. It will seek the authorization of the use and sales and use tax funds. And we did have in the caption not to exceed $140,000. I did receive a late phone call. It was almost the 11th hour yesterday from Suddenlink that they had made a mistake on the cost estimate, and it's actually higher than what they had quoted. The new number, if you bear with me. The new number is 150,000, and it's a little over 150,000. So my recommendation would be, if legal will allow or if you see any legal issues, Dan, that they can revise that 140,000 to 165, just to provide some extra cushion.
That can change. It's an adequate public posting for the matter under consideration.
So when I guess we make a motion, it's 165.
You can change the amount you're authorizing in the motion from what was posted on the agenda.
And so let me continue. We've determined that this is necessary to continue to promote and develop new and expanded business enterprises in the industrial park. We are looking into redundancy to the industrial park as well. So we're going to seek to add the redundancy of the fiber optic from a different route to the EDA application. So that'll be part of the EDA application with phase 2 is including that redundancy. Staff recommends approval, and I am open to answering any questions you may have.
I'll make the motion. Oh, was there a question?
No.
I'll make the motion that we approve increasing the amount to the estimate of 165 and $165,000. Let's be specific. Not 165 bucks.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed, yes, sir. And that we proceed post haste, speed of business.
There you go.
We
were so close.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Tommy lives on.
So at the
I second it.
motion by Mr. Barrio, second by Mr. Coles. Any other comment? No, seeing none. I'd like to call for the vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item G, discussion and possible direction to staff related to the fiscal year 2017-2018 draft budget and fiscal year 2016-2017 current budget. Presentation by Mr. Roland Pena.
Board members, here is the most recent sales tax analysis. Tina has already spoken to that effect, but you can see what the tax is doing over a 12-month, over 36 months time period. With regard to the budget, we're just making some minor refinements. This interest on investment, I got some good news from Jaime, who is not here today, so I'm going to revise that number. It's going to be greater than what you see currently on the spreadsheet. The only other two items that I'd like to bring to your attention: staff services. I need to refine that amount, and so I'll be talking to Tina and making sure that we have an appropriate amount there for next month. I'll bring that next month to you. The debt, see where I have debt service. Debt service was reduced. Sorry, hold on, let me try to get it located. There you go. So that is lower than what we had last month, and I think we're very close to that number. Marketing and recruitment services, obviously that's the chamber contract. I think Dan pulled me aside back there, and I think he wants to mention, wants to make a comment on that. Before he does that, let me just note this: Business Resource Center. These are expenses that were dedicated to the CVCD, the Business Factory. This will move all under the Business Resource Center under COSA DC moving forward. The business plan competition, That is up from 65,000 by 10,000. That seems to be a very good program. We're getting more businesses or entrepreneurs with creative ideas and innovation coming out. It's been very, very successful. That has a lot of great momentum. I think this has been a good meeting for Dr. Cummings. He's seen entrepreneurship, military and defense, quality of life projects, and industrial development activity, and obviously the business plan competition. With that, I'm gonna let Dan come up here and provide his comments, and then I'll come back in case you have any questions.
From last year? Yes. Didn't we?
I think it was 50.
Did we add a third?
Roland, thank you very much. Board members, thank you for, Tommy, I was going to talk at the speed of business, but it snuck in right before I got up here. So, John, you're in trouble for that. But
okay.
Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Dan Koenig, I'm president of the San Angelo Chamber of Commerce. In the audience with me today is Chuck Shore. Chuck is chair of our board of directors. CJ Munez, who is our chair-elect. CJ obviously doesn't know what he's getting into just yet, but he's still here. So Michael had an appointment, and Heather Cumpy on our ED staff as well. So as you consider your budgets going forward, and the chamber is happy to partner with COSA DC, we think we play a very valuable role in the services that we provide on a day-to-day basis. And so I think, and my board thinks, and my staff thinks, that it would be healthy to perhaps schedule a workshop and allow the chamber an opportunity to present in detail what we do, not only to perform to the terms of our contractual agreement here with COSA DC, but an overall comprehensive view of the services and programs that the chamber provides. So we may not want to get into days and dates at this moment in time, but I have been working with my team to make sure that I can have them all there. And so at some point in time, I think that would be a very healthy process. And if I can, and I see a comment brewing here. So in my short time here, I've found that people are generally uninformed of exactly what the chamber does. And as I've gone and spoken with Kiwanis and Rotaries and home builders and realtors and even our own members, I know they walk away with a sense of value in what we provide. And so I just think that this is a great opportunity to just play a little catch up and in the process introduce myself as well. So.
I think that's a great idea. I was actually going to recommend that we created an ad hoc committee, maybe yourself and Chuck and CJ, since CJ will be the incoming chairman, and maybe.
I'm all for this too. I'll step in.
Thank you, Scott.
Be our lead if need.
Would you guys be interested in?
Oh,
an
very
ad hoc
much
committee?
so. I think that would be
Three of you,
great.
Maybe three.
I'm you're our incoming guy. CJ's their incoming guy, and we probably need to get
Edward in on board, and then Roland.
Roland.
Would you join us?
I'm all for it because I want to see that.
And
I
then,
want to see the partnership work.
And I'd like to also maybe, if we can meet quarterly, okay.
Well,
Roland, can we place this discussion or
Future
agenda, please? Or I'm sorry, I think there's item 8A or B. Right.
Not to disagree or be disagreeable, this is budget related. I mean, that is the point of scheduling a workshop is to help you gain some value and appreciation of the services that we provide. So as you're going through your budgets, you need to have a good grasp on what your dollars do in the hands of the chamber. And so I think that's, if I can tie that back in, I don't know if that worked, but I tried to tie it back into budgets.
Well, don't push him. Don't push Dan.
And I think we can meet quarterly to discuss the budget. Just the ad hoc committee can meet quarterly to discuss the budget and ongoing, right? Okay. And then maybe meet the two boards and have a workshop after we have met a few times, probably.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Moving at the speed of legal.
Because he's in control.
Thank you all very much for the opportunity to say a few words.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Are we
mad at us, are you?
Are we gonna be okay?
I
Welcome,
think we're
Dr.
gonna.
Cummings.
I think we're gonna be okay. Our
Welcome,
agenda.
Dr. Cummings, to
Our
the,
agenda allows us.
We do need to, you know, the provisions in the Open Meetings Act, and there are penalties.
You speak in the mic.
The Attorney General's office is very particular about that, and, you know, we don't want to have any complaints. There could be consequences. And we have a history of complying and being very careful about complying. So you're public officials and appointed, and so those are the rules. And every once in a while, you know, I may need to bring something to your attention. So if it's just a best effort thing.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate you watching our back. Or butts, one or the other.
Yeah, Dan, so at the end of the agenda, item 8B, where we consider consideration of future agenda items, they can schedule. I mean, they can voice your request for these board workshops with the chamber at that point. Okay, good. Okay, all right. If you don't have any questions, I can move into.
Anybody have any questions, comments? Roland, you got anything else?
Other than we stayed with the anticipated revenue, Tommy, and I think Tina was comfortable with that. She's still back there? Yeah, she was comfortable with that.
Oh.
So that's, again, trying to be cognizant of the declining sales tax revenues, and we've had 2 years where we have not met those revenues, so we're going to be a little bit more conservative this coming year. So anyway.
All right. Any other board comments, questions? Roland, any public comment? Seeing none. Is there anything that discussion, possible direction? I don't think I have anything here. Oh, Dan? We'll take care of it on
We'll do
item
it for you.
8B.
We'll do it for you.
Is there any possible action, or is there any, Dan, is there any?
No action.
There's
No action required, no.
Okay. Item H, staff updates on ongoing projects. Presentation by Mr. Pena. Hey, welcome back.
I'm just going to move very quickly. This is our Business Retention and Expansion Appreciation Dinner. I wanted to show you some of the photos. Caltech Systems, Time Clock Plus.
Speed of business, Tommy Hebert.
They were presented with the Business Excellence Award. The mayor was on hand at that event, and we also had Charles Ducote, who was one of the founders of Ducote Coffee there, Mrs. Rios, Corn Products, Principal LED, and Ranger Aviation. We were lacking Mr. T's. But other than that, I think it was a successful.
Best Texas Teas.
Best Texas Teas. It was a successful event. Tommy, do you have anything you'd like to add about that event?
No, it was successful. I think the businesses appreciated it, the recognition, and just in a very informal, relaxed setting. No, I thought it was a good event.
It wasn't a long-winded event. It was very brief. Presentations were brief, but I've received several good comments from these businesses. They appreciated the recognition. Then I'm going to move into the I-14 Gulf Coast Strategic Coalition. I attended the unveiling of the I-14 signs. This is a 25-mile segment from Carpers Cove to Belton. This event took place in Killeen on Saturday. I know many of the board members had a conflict and could not attend, but as you can tell from the photo, you'd see it was a large audience. It was a multi-ceremony step away to grab some mementos that I gathered for you.
Oh, thank you, Roland.
It was a double ceremony, and they recognized Killeen and several surrounding communities as an American defense community, a great American defense community. Tommy, you remember at the Transportation Forum, they mentioned it at the I-14 corridor. So these surrounding cities were all recognized, and it made me think that we ought to pursue that for San Angelo with the type of commitment that we have for Goodfellow Air Force Base. This was the recognition of the delegation. You had two congressmen there, Congressman John Carter out of Williamson County and Congressman Roger Williams, and his territory overlaps Central Texas and a portion of that Killeen area. John Carter, by the way, was a former district judge, and I think he tried Henry Lee Lucas when that was taking place. I think that took place here in San Angelo, didn't it, Tommy?
One of them did.
He remembered San Angelo. Judge John Thompson, who is there on the far right. He is the chairman of the I-14 Gulf Coast Coalition. He was already working with those two congressmen asking for their support for the final leg from Brady to Midland and including San Angelo. And I got to witness their commitment to the supporting that leg. In addition, Senator Ted Cruz and John Cornyn were there on video. This was the entire representatives. This happened at 9 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning, so it was a good commitment from many of the communities. I was trying really hard to remain in the picture. This guy in front of me, he kept trying to get in front of me, trying to show off his flag, and man, I thought I was fixing to duke it out with him. Anyway, just kidding. But that's all I have for you. I think that's exciting. Again, that seems to be moving very swiftly, and hopefully we'll get to see some unveiling of signage in our area very soon. That's all I have for staff updates, and I think we're ready for executive session unless you have any questions.
Any questions for Roland?
Thank you for attending, Roland. I wish I could have been there.
You look marvelous.
Hey, next time front and center, though. All right. Item 7, closed session. Executive session under the provision of Government Code Title 5, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 551. Open meeting, Subchapter D, exceptions to requirement that meetings be open under the following sections. Section 551.087 to discuss and offer of financial or other incentives to companies with whom the City of San Angelo Development Corporation is conducting economic development negotiations in which the City of San Angelo Development Corporation seeks to have locate, stay, or expand in San Angelo. Item B, Section 551.071. 1A, consult with an attorney when the government body seeks the advice of its attorney, in Section 551.072 to deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property at the San Angelo Business Industrial Park and at 4751 West Houston Hart Expressway. We are now in executive session, 10:42 a.m.
We're live.
Live? Are we? It still says executive session. We are now out of closed session. It's 10:53 with nothing to report. We're going on to item 8A. Consider items discussed in nothing to report there. Item 8B, announcements, consideration for future agenda items. Hey, Roland, can we? I'd like to direct staff to go ahead and put it on the next agenda to create an ad hoc committee between the chamber and ourselves and our board. Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
By 6 minutes.